While I won't go far to say this is the best episode of them all, from Oracle to Starfire Blackfire coming to an understanding to the result of long-term storytelling makes this episode shine. What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys my review on episode 8 of Titans, episode 51%. And must I say, guys, what a way they structured this out. If there's one thing people, and including myself, beginning to notice about the Titans at the beginning of this season, is that it looked like they finally got to the spot of having the Titans working together. But then afterwards, I believe episode 4 or 5 is where it started to look like they were going back to the mistake of not having the Titans work together. It turns out that was the plan all along. It was all part of a long-term result of storytelling that really showed at the end of this episode when the Titans were back together, working together to stop a criminal, that being Scarecrow and Red Hood, to the other results of long-term storytelling, Bookie, and other departments, that one being Beast Boy. And don't worry, we're going to get all into this soon, but this was just my overall thoughts on the episode and how it turns out they were tricking us and believing they were going back to their old grounds of not having the Titans work together, when in actuality, it was just long-term storytelling. And that is where the writers and producers give props off to them. Good job. Good job. But now, having said that, let's go ahead and let's start breaking this down. And the form that, first off, we are introduced to the debut of Oracle. Yes, guys, Oracle makes his debut, but not in the way we think. As we all know, when it comes to Oracle, that's just another alias for Barbara Gordon, especially when she got paralyzed from the waist down in the Killing Joke event that ended up making her use a wheelchair, that now she has to rely on her hacking skills, and that's where she came with the name Oracle. But no, in this universe, the Titans universe, Oracle isn't Barbara. Instead, Oracle is an AI, pretty much like Brother Eye. If you guys know Brother Eye, that's basically Batman's AI, and it's basically a computer that tracks down any suspicious activities going on. If you guys want a little more understanding of it, you can look at it in Injustice 2. It plays a central role in there for you to understand. But still, nevertheless, we get Oracle, an AI, and definitely knows all about things that go on. Because when it was activated, when Grayson told Barbara they needed it, even though she didn't want to use it, she kept it in case it was ever needed for a desperate need. And that's exactly what it was, because they needed to use it to stop Scarecrow. But it also turns out Oracle was used in the past to stop Scarecrow. Scarecrow knew that, and it turns out that when Lady Big attacked Barbara in last week's episode, as y'all saw, she flashed her during their fight. Almost like at first it looked like she was just trying to blind her to create an opening, but that was just the plan all along. They needed to get her picture so that Scarecrow could gain access to Oracle, because that's what made him allowed to know every step that they were going to take. And he almost killed Grayson had it not been for Superboy being there to help, to push him out of the way, to stop him from being blown up by a victim that had the same heart machine that was used to kill Hank and was trying to use on other people. But this time it was modified, so Connor couldn't rescue this guy. But still, the results of him using that facial picture that he got of Oracle, thanks to Lady Big, what a result that was. Because even I was wondering at first, and I was thinking it might have been something like that, but I wasn't so sure. So to see it happen so quickly like that, awesome stuff right there. Very awesome stuff. But even more so is that we're finally getting the idea of what Crane was doing here. And it turns out that I wasn't far off when I was saying he's trying to use that fear toxin to spread it all around Gotham like it was in Batman Begins. But in a more business perspective, as he was trying to do business with the mob by using those inhalers to make business deals out of it and make the city, as in his words, be opened up and free of fear and stuff. But it was just another way of relating to the fear. such as we saw when Jason in last episode used it and gave it to all sorts of monsters, that it started causing chaos over the place. That at the beginning of this episode, you see Grace and Barbara trying to figure out the next move or where all this is going down. And while they're doing that, you have Starfire and Blackfire who are doing it in their way. And it turns out their way is actually what helps them find out about Dr. Crane and where his hideout was at. Don't worry, we're going to get to all that here in a minute. But just know that fear toxin, yeah, it was just going to be distributed around, not like spread all over like it was in Batman Begins. And as we saw the results of it, it turns out from what it looks like, it makes them look fearless to make them not be scared of something in particular that scares them, such as that mobster from last week's episode. He seemed to have a fear or something about crossing Tim Drake's family, feeling like if he did something, it would lead him to some trouble. But taking that inhaler made him forget that and made him attack Tim Drake's family, and we don't know yet, but maybe kill his dad. And I'm sure that will all come back to us eventually, because unfortunately, Tim Drake wasn't in this, but I have a feeling he'll be back later on to help us out in later episodes. And now, having said that, though, we're going to go ahead and go to how Blackfire and Starfire are the ones who help Grayson and Barbara in finding out about Dr. Crane, because it turns out that they were able to do what Grayson doesn't have it in him to do, and that's go to mobsters and work with them. And not as in work with them as they're their lackey, but a partnership, as it were, a sort of deal as it is, just business. Grayson wouldn't do that, as Starfire said to Blackfire, that since his family was killed by monsters, he never wants to work with any of them. I like to hope down the line Grayson will change that up a bit and know that sometimes maybe this might be the better way, especially considering how his and Barbara's way didn't help them at all, and in the end, Blackfire and Starfire's way did help them. And it was in the fact that they went to a mobster who was at the meeting that Crane was having with mobsters earlier, a woman named Valeska Knox, who I'm pretty sure her name sounds familiar. No doubt she's one of Batman's adversaries in some iteration that I've watched before. But it turns out, though, they went to her because she's not really so sure or trusts Crane's idea, and she wants it to be shut down. But she wanted a deal from those two. She wanted them to bring her son, and that's what they did. Although what Starfire didn't expect, but Blackfire knew this was going to happen, is that she wanted her son to kill her because he was working for the FBI, and she felt that killing him is the best option. This horrified Starfire. So much so that she ended up doing something similar to the Joker from Batman film of 1989. As she said, I shake on my deals. And when she shook Valeska's hand, she just killed her by burning her alive. As I said, similar to the Joker, who did that with a mobster in the Batman 1989 film, and shaking hands, but he had some sort of device that just burned him alive. Interesting reference right there, I must add. That was an interesting reference they put in there. Starfire doing something similar to what the Joker did. Just imagine if the multiverse existed and she found out she did the same thing that Joker did. I don't think she would have been proud afterwards. But nevertheless, one thing it did show here is that it gave Blackfire enough to convince Starfire of why she really killed their parents, because it turns out that Starfire, after she had defeated Trigon, she didn't come back. Tamaran got into a fiasco and thinking that Blackfire is to blame for everything, because they were thinking Blackfire did this on purpose to make her stay there so she could take over the role. And that's when their parents decide killing her might be the best option to settle things down on Tamaran, that forced Blackfire to kill her parents. Now, first off, let me just say that it does sound like she's telling the truth, but at the same time, with what's been happening afterwards, I can't help but believe there's some sort of other end angle to this. Because while Starfire now has a better understanding and wants to do better than what her parents did, which led to her giving her wristbands, which, by the way, love this scene right here. almost reminded me of a few of the other times we've seen this, from Iron Man's nanotech and Infinity War to Stargirl with Wildcat putting on the mask and the suit changing into her size. But this one was more like molecular looking instead of nanotech or whatever it was that was used for Iron Man and Wildcat. Either way, though, that looked badass. But it shows that they now have an understanding, and she's now trying to put a little more trust in her and be better than her parents. But now going back to what I said about Blackfire showing a little more of deceiving or manipulating side now is in the form of Superboy. Lately, because Superboy is the only one who seems to have grown a bit of a bonding side with her. And during the time when they make it to Crane's hideout, which turns out is in the hideout of one of Mr. Freeze's old place called Snowy Cones, which, by the way, yes, guys, that's where the Titans finally got their time to shine, to show that they're here together and they're here to bust ass. But this is where we got to see Blackfire showing a bit of a flirting sort of thing with Superboy. Now, whether Superboy is gaining a crush on her or not, or is just showing some niceness and whatnot, I don't know, because as you know, he's a clone and stuff, so he's probably still learning and stuff, and it's hard to say what it is, if it's a crush or if it's just being friendly or something. But one thing we gotta look out for is that I'm thinking Blackfire has something agenda with it and being friendly and flirting with Superboy, because let's not forget, she's a deceiver, she's a master manipulator, so let's not forget that. But now finally, let me just go back into that long-term storytelling. So all Crane's plans were coming together at last, and he was not mad at Jason for what he did. He used this as an experiment to help him better himself, and with him using Oracle and stuff, he was staying steps ahead of Grayson and everyone else. But he didn't expect, like I said, Blackfire and Starfire getting a mobster to sell him out. That's what led to the Titans finding his hideout, ruining their plans and stuff, that it made Crane pretty much go into fear himself, going into that thing of being feared with all his plans out of the way. He even was showing it himself here, that it's not over yet. I'll stop them. I'll get them back for this. You could definitely tell he was showing fear there. But then that's what led to the Titans even having a celebration time. But while all that's nice and good, it's the final scene that also results of a thing we've been having with Garfield, Beast Boy. Now, sadly, we still haven't seen him be able to transform into any other animal. However, though, we see that the producers and directors decide to go a new way. Even if maybe they will make him change into other animals in the future, maybe they're just waiting for that. And instead, they made us show Beast Boy using his powers in a way I don't think I've ever seen before, as he used his tiger abilities to locate some things on Jason, because unlike everyone else, he truly wants to help Jason. He believes there's a way that he can be redeemed and stuff, while Grayson, on the other hand, just believes he's gone and he's just trying to stop him and put him away. And yeah, I can't say which side is more right. I kind of see both of their points, but I myself would like to believe there's a chance Jason can be okay, can be redeemed. Not to the point where he'll join the Titans again, but where he'll be more in that anti-hero role that he's known for in the main universe of comics and other iterations out there, to more of that anti-hero role. But nevertheless, Beast Boy, while he was looking to find the best ways to help Jason, since that's his friend, he ended up finding a secret stash with a letter. That letter was actually from Jason's friend, Molly. If you remember her, guys, that's that girl that he's a friend with in Gotham that we saw back in the episode that explains of what was going on when he was back in Gotham with Bruce and when he died and everything. I knew that Molly would play a big role going forward, and it turns out, looks like that part is about to come to fruition as he went to visit her and tell her that he, like her, wants to help Jason, which led her to opening the door and deciding, I guess, to talk with him. But that's where the episode ends, and all I can say, guys, great work by the producers, directors, and writers, as they showed us here that they knew exactly what they were doing here. They had them Titans in separate different spots, all to work together to find their way to come together to stop Scarecrow's plan. Great work. Awesome episode. I give it an 8 out of 10. Why do I say 8 out of 10? Because, well, there are some things here and there that's still a little iffy and whatnot, but the results of what we got here plays well into the first half of the season. Now, is this to say they're about to go on to something else? I don't know. All I know is I'm looking forward to next week's episode to see where do we go from here, especially with Gar and Molly. But either way, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave it all at that. And hey, you enjoy my videos, all you got to do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. And until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye.